In this video, you'll learn all the secrets of the OTC market, how to work on it, and how to make money from it. I'll also tell you which candles are best to use and which strategies work best. Basically, everything will be covered in this video. Let's get into the OTC market. Look, the very first thing you need to understand is that the OTC market is quite volatile and sometimes unpredictable, unlike the regular financial market. So you need to work very carefully here, and I recommend that you immediately choose currency pairs that have good movement. To start, you need to turn on Heiken Ashi candles. This will already help you filter out the junk currency pairs with poor movement from the good ones. Here's an example of how it shouldn't look. If you see this kind of fence of candles, where the price moves like this, you should skip those currency pairs. If you open a currency pair and you see a clear movement, just like here, that is, you don't have really big wicks, so the movement is very predictable. And on a currency pair like this, which moves smoothly, you can make money. That's why such pairs, with this kind of movement, are much more preferable. Once again, to do this, you need to select Heiken Ashi candles and set 15 seconds per candle. Let's look at an example of a trade in this market. Look, the very first thing we need to do is find a good trending movement. And in general, on the OTC market, you can immediately start opening trades following the trend. So, if you see a really strong upward movement, you can open a trade. Yes, the safest entry point will be after a pullback. That means you need to wait for 2 to 4 candles of the opposite color. In this particular case, you will need to patiently wait for the appearance of red candles, and only then proceed to open a buy trade. If you are observing a downward price movement, then you should wait for 2 to 4 candles of the opposite color, meaning specifically green candles, and then you also open a trade in the direction of the trend. There's nothing difficult about it here. If you simply trade on the OTC market, on these candles, on a good currency pair that has a strong upward or downward movement, and you open trades following the trend, you'll already have more than 50% winning trades. But I understand, that's not enough. That's why we're going to improve our strategies now. And from the basic level we can move to a more advanced level, right, to earn even more. Because this foundation, trading after a correction in the direction of the trend, is actually a really good strategy. So, if anything, use this strategy, but we're moving on to the next level. But first, I want to gently remind you that in our official Telegram channel, Ado Booster Bot, you'll discover even more ready-made, effective strategies and numerous insightful articles that will genuinely help you make significant money trading. We truly have a substantial amount of valuable educational material, even in the free format within our open Telegram channel. That's exactly where you'll find more articles about the OTC market. If you want a ready-made strategy, then just message our managers directly and tell them you want a ready-made strategy, and the team will give you a ready-made strategy that will let you close more than 70% of your trades in profit. So if you want to work on the OTC market, just send us a direct message. You'll find the link in the description. I'll also leave, in the pinned comment, both the link to our support account and the link to our Telegram channel. But let's move on. Another really good indicator for the OTC market is the Keltner channels. We need to tweak it a bit. Set the period to 2, the ATR period to 10, and set the first value to 20. Save all these settings, and now we can work with this indicator. So, with this indicator, we can very easily trade on the bounce. Just take a look. We had a lot of touches here, and we could have profited from each of them. It's a pretty simple indicator, so let's take a look at how effective it is. Here we have the Australian dollar to US dollar, and it's reaching the upper boundary of the Keltner channel. So, with this indicator, our approach will be very straightforward. For example, we can see that there's a strong upward movement happening, right? And accordingly, a correction should occur soon. So, in the first case, we figured out how to trade after a correction. But in this case, we can also trade during the correction itself. That is, right now the price should bounce off this outer boundary, and then it will start rising again. We trade on a 1-minute time frame. It doesn't matter if it's from the upper boundary or the lower boundary. We don't trade from the middle line. So, if the price reaches the lower boundary, we open a buy trade. If it reaches the upper boundary, we open a sell trade. The conditions are very simple. It's a very simple indicator that's perfect for beginners. An excellent trade brings me 920 bucks. In general, the OTC market is actually a very good alternative to the regular financial market because not everyone has the opportunity to trade on the regular financial market due to their main job, being busy, or, for example, as is common in the United States, the problem is that all the markets are geared toward Europe, so it's hard to catch the regular market hours in the States. That's why you either have to wait or trade on the OTC market. But don't worry, there's nothing strange about the OTC market. It's just an internal exchange market, yes, with slightly different volatility. Technical analysis and all its tools work pretty much the same way here, too. There are still some small differences, but over the long run, and when you're trading regularly, you don't really notice them. That's why I recommend you keep practicing on the OTC market, especially since we provide all the tools you need to earn on this market, making it very safe and productive. And honestly, even if you just use the indicators that are publicly available, you can already make money with them if you set them up correctly. You can copy the Keltner channel settings from this video and use them to make the same bounce trades. It's really simple. So once again, if you want a ready-made strategy, just message our support account. The team will share a ready-to-use strategy for the OTC market with you. Alright, let's open the final trade with the booster bot. Let's see how it handles this task. First, I'll choose a currency pair. Let's go with the Australian dollar/Canadian dollar. I switch to the booster bot and select this currency pair. The trade duration is 1 minute, and I'll also choose 5-second candles. I get a clear buy signal, and on the new 5-second candle, I absolutely need to open a buy trade. Look, if you are truly going to work with this automated robot, then 5-second Heiken Ashi candles are indeed the very best entry point for your trades. Please remember that. Next, there are several factors here. Here we have a factor for the success of the trade, and right now it's quite high. There's also the probability of a price reversal, meaning it can happen that the price suddenly moves in the opposite direction. The higher this indicator, the fewer chances we have accordingly. And volatility shows us how actively the price is going to rise right now. So, if the first and third indicators are high, but the second one is quite low, then it's a very safe and secure trade to consider buying or selling. If, accordingly, some of the indicators differ significantly, then I strongly advise you either to refrain completely from making the trade or just wait patiently for a new signal and carefully observe how the price behaves. But as you can see, this trade with the bot closes perfectly in profit, gives me a good move, and I make $920. So actually, on OTC, you can work with completely different strategies. Here, trades for 1 minute, 3 minutes, and 5 minutes all work out great as well. So, accordingly, you can choose any time frame. So take advantage of this market. Don't be afraid of it. If you have any questions, then write to our support account, okay. If you want to activate the robot, then follow the link in the description, activate the robot, and it will give you all the instructions you need to follow for its activation. In general, I'll leave all the useful links in the description. Message our managers if you have any questions. I'll say goodbye to you now. Also, don't forget to like this video and see you soon.